It's Thursday. You know what that means. Yuka Sasazaki is still trying to springboard from the top rope in last night's main event. Welcome to Over the Ropes. I'm Cortland. This is Tyler. And today, finally, the day has come. We're going to hit you with an AEW review from last night in Huntsville, Alabama. Before we get into that, though, let's just talk about our AEW experiences. I think we're, 5 years in, I think, as
Five
a
years
company.
in. Yep. Yep.
I think that my initial thoughts are this is awesome. Competition's great. At the time of AEW opening, I was a huge Cody Rhodes fan. I was a very big Young Bucks fan. I was a very big Kenny Omega fan. So I was all in. See what I did there? I
A
was here for it. I really enjoyed the first couple of years. I did mention this in my first show ever, our third ever. I'm a big Sting guy. Sting's my all time favorite. So I will never forget his debut. I was bartending, and on that Wednesday night shift, when everyone left, I would always turn on AEW and kind of listen in the background and watch while I waited for the dishwasher. And I remember I had a glass rack, and I heard this music, and I turned around and I dropped it. It was Sting, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was hooked.
uh,
Um, but I don't know. The last year or two, I don't know what's going on. It hasn't clicked as much.
yep.
Um, I stopped watching after Sting retired. I'm not gonna lie, but we've gotten back into it the last couple weeks as we do these review shows. So bear with me if there's some backstory that I am not aware of, but I'm backing them all in now.
All right. You shooting for that double or nothing? Huh? 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 Yeah. Yeah. All
Nice.
right. So for me, it's a little different. We people become fans of things for different reasons.
Yep.
Um, as Cortland and I, we met in the second grade, and literally the first thing we bonded over was wrestling. We both been watching wrestling our whole lives. Wrestling
Yep.
for me has always been an escape for like negativity in my life. Wrestling's always there, never went anywhere. It was something I could count on every week. Even had its ups and downs, but as I tell people, never turned its back on me or anything like that. So obviously, even the most delusional fan can admit in 2019 is like the year everybody kind of points to of like it was bad WWE. But I never
It was bad.
it was bad, but I never felt like I had to have something else because of my relationship with wrestling. I always watch it for what it is. I can acknowledge something's bad, but still be like, but like it's my thing. You know what I'm saying? So when AEW first came out, I was excited for it. I love Cody. I've always loved Cody. I always liked Kenny Omega. I was never
Yep.
a big Bucks fan, but I understood how good they were. Uh, and I was really excited to see people I'd never seen before.
It was great to have an alternative.
Yeah, it was fun, but I didn't need it. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like other people did. So I watched the first couple pay-per-views with my cousin. I watched the first couple months of Dynamite, and then it clicked to me that AEW wasn't really for me because I had felt like the show was too worried about trashing WWE because at that time that's what people needed. And I
Yep.
felt like they, rightfully so, because it got them over, that they spent way too much time bashing the thing I loved, even if it was on a negative down point. So I've clicked in for certain things. I watched a lot of the Hangman, Kenny Omega story. I
Yep.
watched a lot of Omega's champion just because I've always been a fan of him.
Yep.
I watched all the Swerve Hangman segments.
Oh, that stuff was
Yeah,
great.
great. Timeless Tony's been awesome. So I always kept up with it. I would watch certain segments, but as like an actual person watching it, I pretty much haven't watched it from the beginning. So watching this every week is going to be very, very new to me. Uh,
Yeah, it's going to be a
and
bit of a change for both of us, I
right,
think.
right. And I probably, AEW is not built for me because I enjoy wrestling for the story aspect. And anybody who says AEW has no story, that's disingenuous. But it's not to the level that I watch wrestling for. So
Right.
if you're here because you enjoy AEW, you're probably going to enjoy Cortland's perspective more than me because
We'll see.
I got a lot of questions. But I
Yep.
promise, even if I am negative, it's it's not disingenuous. I am trying to be as fair and honest as I can watching the show.
That's all we
And
can be.
exactly. So that's the background of our history. We're gonna get into the show. I like he said, even though we haven't done reviews, we both watched the last 2 weeks, and
Yep.
let's get into it. I mean, AEW started straight into a match, which for me was actually pretty cool to see because WWE does usually start with a promo segment of some kind. So jumping straight into a match, I was like, oh, okay, all right.
Hearing all this music right off the bat is a great way to get my ass on my couch ASAP.
Uh
You
huh.
know, when I know that there's going to be a promo, whatever, I might still be making food or like grabbing a drink. I hear Osprey's music, I'm there. So
Yeah.
good way to
So
start. I agree.
we started with Will Ospreay versus Brian Cage. Don Callis gets on the mic, shows backstage that Kenny Omega's been jumped, and then Brian Cage instantly jumps Ospreay from behind. I thought the match was pretty good. We got the Ospreay jumping off the barricade. Cage caught him into the suplex, carried him around, and suplexed him to the floor. I was like, damn.
He carried him halfway around the ring. He didn't just carry him around, halfway
Uh huh.
around the ring.
Yep. Yep. Uh, Ref gets distracted by Cage. Archer and Callis jump Ospreay outside. Uh, my next note is I love both these wrestlers. I've always liked Ospreay, the little I've seen of him. I watched quite a bit of Lucha Underground, so I've been a Brian Cage fan for a long time. Dude is a beast.
He's huge.
So I said, as being kind of more of a resident WWE guy, my next was I would love to see them in WWE and see if they could tell stories the way that you need to be able to in WWE. Ospreay does a backflip out of the ring into Cage. That was pretty cool. Ospreay hits the Styles Clash for the win. We got Ospreay the winner. And then after the match, Archer and Cage jump Ospreay. Kenny Omega comes out with the chair to make the save. Fletcher and Takeshita, however you say his name, come out and jump Kenny and Will from behind. And they pretty much get stomped out by the family. Ospreay jumps on Kenny Omega to get them to stop beating on Kenny. I like this match. I like the match. I like the segment that followed afterwards. Frankly, out of all the matches, I feel like this. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, they tell their stories in the ring." I'm gonna be honest. I didn't see a lot of that tonight, except for this match. This match told the story through the whole match, and everybody in it was phenomenal. I haven't seen a lot of Takeshita. I struggle with that name.
As soon as I typed it, I was like, man, this is a nightmare to type several times.
Yeah. But Fletcher, Ospreay, Omega, and Brian Cage are all great.
Yep. So I feel similarly. I like both Osprey and Cage. My first note says brick shit houses are built like Brian Cage.
Yep.
This dude is a monster. I've always wished that they would do more with him. I sometimes feel like the big guys don't get utilized enough in AEW, and that's one of my gripes that I have.
Mm-hmm.
More on that later. So I have some highs and lows, but I'm going to try to do this linear as I
Okay.
took my notes. Some great moves, like we talked about. The carry suplex was excellent. Cage had this awesome spot with some like rotating tilt whirl backbreakers on each knee. I
Yeah.
thought that looked awesome.
Yep.
Osprey had this crazy rebounding corkscrew kick that got him back into the match. I thought that looked really neat. And Cage hit an F5 off the top rope.
Yeah.
Really neat. But that's one of those things where, like, to me, that should end a match.
Right.
Whatever. I didn't love that, but Osprey got a leg on the rope. You know, that's a little less energy than kicking out. And then
Yep.
Archer knocked the foot off the rope. Um, and then, like you said, the Styles Clash for the win. By far, my least favorite part of all of this is after the match, Archer attacks Osprey. Omega hobbles down to the ring, and Cage is just standing there like a deer in the headlights, waiting
Yeah.
to have the chair thrown at him. And there's just like,
Yeah.
that's one of those nitpicky things I can't stand. Like, I don't know, be on the ground or selling or something, but don't just stand there and wait to get hit with a chair. Like, that just drove me berserk.
Well,
Brian Cage is a machine. I want to see him ripping people's heads off. And he just looked like a deer in the headlights. I thought that segment made him look like an idiot.
well, this is, a lot of people bring up the botches in AEW. I really think AEW's biggest problem is their camera work. Because,
Yes.
people bitch all the time about WWE's camera cutting, but there's a reason for that. Because there is going to be times where you have to stand there like a fucking dope, excuse the language, waiting
Yep.
for a certain spot or wait for something, or somebody is on the ground but they're kind of peeking up, and you have to have the right camera angles to protect your wrestlers. And I feel
That is a fantastic point.
and I feel like that's where a lot of the botches come from. It's not the fact that it doesn't happen as much in WWE, because it absolutely does. But they know where to have the camera for each move, and they know what to cut away from as soon as they're like, oh crap, we need to move because this might look wonky. And I don't think AEW does that, and I think that's where that problem comes in.
Valid point. I like that. Um, I liked the stereo Tombstone pile drivers. I thought that it was important for this whole Callus group to look strong coming out of this one. Excuse me. And they did. But then I personally didn't see this, but the announcers kept talking about Osprey coughing up blood, which I don't know. I didn't see it, but if anyone should have been, I feel like it should have been Kenny, because he's the one struggling with the diverticulitis.
And he
That didn't make sense to me.
Jumped in the back.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was backwards. Didn't understand that. Osprey covered, and that was that for the opener. Next, we move out back. We've got Renee out back at Swerve Strickland's door. Hangman Page barges by her, doesn't see him in the room, storms out. Renee follows Hangman throughout back, and he physically shoulder bumps in MJF. Who kind of starts mumbling, saying he doesn't understand why everyone loves Hangman despite all the bad shit he's done.
Right.
But that if he breathes wrong, he's an asshole and everyone hates him. And he just starts kind of muttering to himself, which is weird. And he says no one's going to ruin his night. His words are a prophecy. He says that Jeff Jarrett's going to learn the hard way, and it's better to make a deal with the devil, like he said last week, and that tonight he's got another offer for Jarrett, and that it's the last Outlaw's last ride. We go to commercial break. We come back, and we've got Will Hobbs on a live camera out, I'm guessing from home. Says, unfortunately, he wasn't cleared for travel, but he told Big Bill that they were going to hell, and when Hobbs returns to the ring, hell is just the beginning for them. So I'm excited to see those two big guys get back at it. And then we get to Claudio Castagnoli versus Jeff Jarrett.
So, my one big beef with the first match is Kenny just came back. When he was out, he had just finished his feud with the Callis family. I don't like that they put him right back into the feud with the Callis family. I feel like that's going backwards. MJF and Hangman are both great. They need to be on TV every week. So we got Claudio versus Jeff Jarrett. Wheeler Yuta comes out to the ringside. I said, as soon as the match started, I said, no way Jeff Jarrett wins this, and they give this dude a title match.
Nope.
I didn't take a lot of notes in this match. Yuta threw a chair in the ring to distract the refs. Claudio missed the chair shot. Mox ends up running out, hits Jarrett with the paradigm shift. Claudio hits Jarrett with his finisher. I don't know what it's called. And
I was going to ask you that. I call it the neutralizer still, but I'm sure it's got a new name.
And then I said, why did Mox feel the need to... So I actually... This might have been the segment I hated the most for a lot of reasons. I'm fine with having, like, a TV storyline of Jeff Jarrett trying to get a title shot. He feels like this is his last chance. That's fine. Jeff Jarrett's a legend. You want to do something like that? Great. No problem. But I feel like with Mox's character, I don't feel like he would feel the need to make sure Jeff Jarrett didn't get a title shot. Like, I feel like Mox should not be worried about Jeff Jarrett's old ass. You know what I'm saying?
And, he's no threat.
Right, he's not a threat to Mox. So it was a weird... The fact that Mox had to come out. MJF ends up coming out, hits the ring. He goes to start talking and it hits Jarrett in the face with his ring. He said he respects his elders, so he's not going to say he told him so. I don't mind the Jeff Jarrett trying to get a title match. I hate that they have MJF and the feud with Jeff Jarrett. MJF feels like he has fallen off ever since he came back from his injury. Him and Adam Cole, that wasn't their fault. With the injuries, injury to...
What a snake-bitten feud.
Yeah, MJF, injury to Adam Cole. I don't know what the hell is going on with Wardlow. And yeah, like you said, the feud was snake-bitten from the start. So I give them a pass on that. But then losing to Adam Cole, and then Adam Cole gets shot to Ring of Honor, and then MJF ends up in a feud with Jeff Jarrett. There's not a lot I liked about this.
It's an odd pairing because, I don't know, I don't feel like MJF gains that much by beating Jarrett in a feud. I don't know. I've never been a big Jeff Jarrett guy, so it's tough for me to engage in this feud altogether.
Right.
I think Slapnuts is hilarious, but other than that, I have been a lifelong detractor as someone who grew up watching WCW.
I was just going to say, that's a weird coming from a WCW guy.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett has been one of my least favorite guys for as long as I can remember. And I can't wait until the next time he gets hit over the head with his own guitar. I also didn't take a ton of notes in this match, but I did say I at least appreciated Jarrett's like old school mentality. He went for the legs a lot, which I thought was neat, but then I thought that it was a little nonsensical that Claudio was able to get 10 swings off. He did eventually sell the knee, and that's why he stopped doing it, but I would have avoided that spot altogether or just had him stop much, much sooner. I also laughed my ass off when Jeff Jarrett went for the Enziguri and he missed it, but he still slapped his leg, and everyone just looked so confused.
Yep.
I couldn't help but write that down. I also hate that it takes 3 guys to beat Jeff Jarrett. Yeah. I don't know. I guess this is their way of trying to make him look credible, but
right.
I don't know, man. Claudio could beat this guy with his eyes closed. So I think Claudio is a human killing machine. I wish he wasn't a part of this group. I hope that eventually he turns on Mox because I'm a big Claudio guy.
Mm-hmm. Before you go into the next thing, this is my other issue. Is like I said, I follow along with it, even though if I don't watch it weekly. But from my understanding, when they turned on Bryan Danielson, Yuta was like a unwilling participant and was kind of bullied into it. And I feel like they said that in commentary like 6 times. But that's not what I saw. Wheeler Yuta was fully into this group. And just kicking the shit out of people. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if that's the story they're going with, they need to emphasize him more while they're all together. And the other thing, and I think I have this note on my notes with the Wheel Yuta part, but I'm going to say it now. Him, Claudio, and Pac are the trios champion, right?
Yeah.
Why the hell do they not have their belts?
Not a single one of them had their belts on tonight. I did notice that.
And I know Mox has his in the briefcase, but like the other three don't. So
they just don't even wear them. So
right, and that bothered me.
I don't understand this group, this faction, whatever you want to call it, at all.
Yeah, we'll get into that later for sure.
Yes, sir. All right, so next, back to Renee out back. She's interviewing Ricochet. She says that she hasn't been able to find Swerve Strickland tonight, and that he is banned from ringside during Ricochet's match against AR Fox. And if he does interfere, then the match next week is off. She says that it appears Ricochet has a lot on his mind and offers him to talk about it. But he says that he doesn't want to do it now. He wants to do it in a more formal setting on Saturday. And then I think he tried to do his little gimmicky laugh, but he screwed it up.
Yeah.
Which made me laugh. And then he was like waiting for his music to hit, and it didn't. And I was just like, "This is a disaster."
You know what's funny is I actually do that laugh in like way before he was doing it in like a joking way. So like in a sarcastic way. And frankly, I ain't gonna lie, I do better than he does, alright? Because what he's trying to do, and what I do is like that. But every single time he fucks it up. So
he does it reminds me of that John Cena promo from Outback like 20 years ago. That's what it reminds me of.
Right. Yeah.
So I do like his music a lot, though.
Yeah.
When he came out, I think his theme song is a banger.
And I like them trying to make him a heel, an annoying heel. I will give them that because he sucked when he came to any character thing in WWE. And they always had him trying to be a good guy. So you know what? That clearly doesn't work. Let's try
I like
to
him
make
as a smug heel.
Right. And he's annoying, which, you know what? Good. That was a smart decision. Now, is it clicking? But at least they're trying something.
Yeah.
So we got Ricochet versus AR Fox. I don't know crap about AR Fox.
I don't either, but they said he had 4 wins over Ricochet, and I was like, who booked that?
Yeah, I think that was an indie thing. The only thing I remember seeing with AR Fox was the scissors thing with Swerve a couple years ago. But the match was all right. I mean, it was a pretty, a match you would expect in AEW. Like, when people talk about an AEW match, this is one of the matches I saw no story in the actual match. Like, they had a couple of fake-out spots that were good. I said Fox does nothing for me. They called Ricochet's finisher the Spirit Gun, which is a different Dragon Ball Z reference. That was one of the main characters' main moves, is a Spirit Bomb, but Spirit, huh?
Is that 2 references this week for Dragon Ball Z?
I lied. That's actually not a Dragon Ball Z reference. It is an anime reference. It's an anime called Yu Yu Hakusho. So it's a second anime reference.
I like it.
Spirit Bomb is Dragon Ball Z, not Spirit Gun. Ricochet pulled out the scissors. So Ricochet hits the Spirit Gun, gets the win, and then he pulls out the scissors. Swerve comes out of nowhere. You hear the chain wrap around his ankles, yanks him down. Swerve attacks Ricochet. Ricochet ends up back in the ring. Swerve gets on the top to jump on him, and Swerve holds the scissors up to Fox's throat to get out of the ring and to get out of that situation. The match was fine. Didn't really do a lot for me, but it was a good match. I would never not say it was a bad match by any means. I liked Ricochet pulling the scissors out. I like Swerve attacking him. I was not into the scissors up to the throat because I feel like, again, as somebody who's a casual watcher of certain segments, I feel like I have seen them do a lot of these, like, we're trying to murder somebody, but then they're back next week, and like, I, these are the things I just don't get. Like, he's not gonna kill him. He's not shoving the scissors in his neck. You know,
Yeah.
Mox isn't strangling somebody with a bag. Like, they try to take things too far in a way that it's like, what are we doing here? Because we know that's not happening.
To me, it wasn't to the Moxley extent. I did kind of like it. It was just kind of like a nice held hostage situation. I like this a lot better than the bag over the head, to be honest.
Right, right.
I did mind it.
hmm
Um,
I
there's some
think
nice moves in this match, though.
I think by itself it's not bad, but I think in my head I'm adding in with a lot
As a
of the
series of
right,
events.
right, that I'm
Okay.
like, I'm not into that because it's
Okay, that
just
makes
like
sense.
it's a little eye rolling, but it by itself was fine because yeah, he's like, I'm just trying to get the hell out of here. So
Because it's been a while since I watched, maybe it didn't bother me as
right,
much.
right.
Just a couple of notes from the match that I really liked. I love that Ricochet mocked The Rock and did the spine on the pine and then the people's moonsault.
I
I
did
think
like
that
that.
that's really smarmy, and I
Yep,
loved that.
yep.
Um, AR had a couple really nice moves when they came back from the commercial break. He had this capture suplex kind of bomb move that I really liked. And then I don't remember what they called it, but AR Fox like grabbed Ricochet's arms while he was up top and kind of hurled him over him in
Okay.
a kind of like a somersault motion,
Yep.
and then got in front of him and hit a cutter, and then jumped up and did a 450. And I was like, now that's the AEW I'm here for. I thought that match was really cool.
Uh huh.
And then yeah, Ricochet hit that finisher and got the dub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After this, we got another Renee segment. I don't remember what they called it, but it was like an exclusive. It had a certain name for this
Yeah,
segment,
so
and I
they
did
put
miss it.
they put out these 3 interviews on like their website or their YouTube channel. So they showed us a snippet from one of these interviews. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
So Renee's out back with the Death Riders, and she asks why the title has been locked away since Mox won it. Mox kind of got like defensive and snarky, and he said that it's not like a petting zoo and it doesn't need to be seen or held up over his head, and it's not something you need to show off. And he says that he is the championship and then it lives in here. And I don't know. I still don't get this group. I hope it starts to make sense to me. But I don't know. The segment didn't really do anything for me, to be honest.
right.
Um, so after that, we come back from break and we get probably. I hate the New York Minute. For me, that was an easy fast forward. I don't like this Jericho group thing. I used to love Jericho so much. I think that you just made the list is one of the funniest things ever.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I love Jericho forever. Jericho is an all-time. He's got to be like an all-time top 15, top 20 guy when we're all said and done.
Yep.
Royal Rumble, great. The undisputed championship win. But this little group with Big Bill and what's the other guy's name? Keith something. Something
Keith,
Keith.
Brian Keith.
Yeah, man, it just does nothing for me.
Yep.
So they did the New York Minute, and then we got into another Death Rider segment.
Yeah. So I stayed quiet through. I let you go through these segments because I said the Jeff Jarrett match was probably the leg match and probably like the biggest part that I was like, yeah, I'm not into this. These 2 segments combined might have been the worst part of the show. Um, I loved Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose
Yeah,
was my favorite member of the Shield.
really.
He was. Yep. Yep.
See, we didn't talk a ton during this part of our lives. I think this is like college ish
Right. Right.
for us.
Yeah.
I was a Seth guy, though, so that's
Yeah.
funny. I was a
Yeah.
huge Seth
Yeah.
Rollins guy in the Shield.
I to this day, as many times as I've seen it, will and I know Mox has talked about it, and he wasn't super into these segments, But the segment they had where they had Ambrose talking to the psychiatrist and he was showing them pictures, and it got to like Steph, or it was like it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan and ho, and they got to Stephanie ho, and I every single time I die laughing. Dean
Yeah.
Ambrose always was my favorite member of the Shield. He was complex, he was nuts, but there was a reason for it. John Moxley, I feel like he's trying to overcompensate for the things he didn't like in Dean Ambrose. Because I feel like he's the same exact Moxley that came into this company 5 years ago. And his character has not evolved, changed, grown, anything. Nobody understands the Death Riders.
Yeah.
And this whole thing was his wife in real life and on the show saying, hey, what is this story about? And he talked, I'm sure that whole interview is about 30 minutes long, and he doesn't say a damn thing. Like, does not answer.
There's just no substance. It's
No
just
substance.
like
It's just
it's
words.
this weird cryptic. Yeah, it's just cryptic words,
Right.
man. Like it reminds me of so back in school. I'm like not a history kid. I'm a tangible. I'm a numbers guy. I like math and science. His promos remind me of like American history class or like Shakespeare, and I'm just like, I have two shits, and I couldn't give you either of them.
Right. Yeah, he said nothing. And it's like, why are we, this is your world champion.
His
Like,
promos are like Seinfeld, dude. They're a promo about nothing.
Yep, exactly. And then we go from that into Chris Jericho. And boy, I don't know the last time I was over a human being the way I am over Chris Jericho.
And that sucks, man. He used to be so entertaining.
Jericho in WCW was cool. I like Jericho. The rivalry he had with Dean Malenko.
Yeah, the list of the moves.
With the 1,001 moves or whatever it was.
Yes.
He had like one more than what his nickname was.
The man of 1,000 holds.
Yeah, so he had 1,001 moves on the list.
Number 1.
Yep.
Armbar.
Yep. His debut in WWE was one of the best debuts ever.
It was incredible.
My favorite Chris Jericho was 2004, where he was like his best good guy run ever, where he was feuding with Christian when Trish turned on him.
Yes.
That was the best Chris Jericho. When he came back, the list was incredible storyline. That, like you said, nothing was funnier than you made the list. Like, added the most ridiculous points.
I still do that with my pen whenever I have, like, I have a clickable pen just because of that. Yep.
Yeah.
To this day.
And, like, it was cool when he went to AEW, because it was like, oh, there's a name. Everybody was mad that he was the first champion. I was like, no, that's smart. Build Hangman up to win that title. Build Kenny, Chris Jericho should be your first world champion. He's the only person in this damn company that's had a world title in any other company. It only makes sense.
The only person really with like a name and any credibility. So,
and I guess he got mad because people turned on him. Obviously there was some outside reasons and stories to come out about Chris Jericho that made the fans go, maybe you should take a break. And he decided, instead of that, I'm going to be in your face even more. It literally is the worst. Every time he does an interview, he just says the dumbest shit humanly possible. And I've not rolled my eyes over somebody this much in a long time. So, putting the Mox and Jericho one right after another was such a bad choice.
Yeah, I took a little break after that. Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, so then we get into Switchblade versus Wheeler Yuta. And I'm not going to lie, I was mad when Switchblade went to WWE. because I knew exactly what has happened with Switchblade was gonna happen.
You mean the AEW?
Or AEW. I saw this coming a mile away. He's gonna get put in a group. Don't get me wrong. I like Bullet Club Black. But besides that, he just wasn't going to do a whole lot, and I feel like that's exactly what has happened. The match was good. I don't know a lot about Wheeler Yuta. I've only seen a few of his matches here and there, but I love Switchblade. I love a lot of people. I don't pretend that I have watched a lot of New Japan, but I definitely keep up with it enough that I get excited when these New Japan guys come over to America where I have the ability to see them more.
Yep.
I said Tony's pushing on commentary that Yuta's not on the same page with the rest of the Death Riders, but I feel like we haven't seen that in months. A lot of Wheeler Yuta chants, Yuta sucks chants, which is a good thing, which means they're doing something right. But again, if he's supposed to be the sympathetic, like, I'm not in this, why is he the one that's getting the Yuta sucks chants and not Claudio or Mox?
Yeah.
I love Jay White. Literally the only note I have is when he hit the Blade Runner for the win. I said after the match, he goes to hit the second Blade Runner. The crowd starts chanting for one more. Mox and Claudio comes out from the back. They attack, and then Cope and FTR come out to make the save. FTR challenges Death Riders to a street fight on Collision. I said, I still can't believe Cope is in AEW. And speaking of people I am over, I am just as over FTR as I am Jericho. And I get Cope versus Mox. I think that's probably the right choice. But frankly, I have not been into the Death Riders. I've not been into their story with Cope or FTR for that matter, because I just don't like FTR. The match was good because I like Switchblade, and that's really like the best part of this segment I can talk about.
Yeah, I didn't write down a ton. I like Jay's spinning Uranagi, and then he went for the Blade Runner. Wheeler reversed it, and he kind of did that Kyle O'Reilly back into the bottom rope rebound into a German suplex. I thought that was a really cool spot.
Yep.
And the finish was neat. Wheeler went for the Brian Danielson Psycho knee, and it got reversed into the Blade Runner. That was neat.
Yep.
I was kind of bummed at how quiet the crowd was in the Cope just main evented. Was it sometime last week? I don't remember if it was Collision or Dynamite, and the crowd was just crickets.
That was when they did
And I'm
that
just
12-man tag, right?
Yeah, like how is a living legend like Edge just getting no reaction? I feel terrible. So yeah, they come out. Dax grabs the mic, says the numbers are even now. He hates how the Death Riders tried to end the career of his idol Ricky Morton. He says Dennis Condrey is here in the crowd, and in his name on Collision, FTR. He's going to challenge the Death Riders in a Mid-South street fight, which Tony Schiavone did do a good job of putting over.
Yes.
That street fights in Mid-South were pretty violent back in the day. So I did appreciate that from Tony.
Yep.
And I wrote this much higher above, but I love Taz on commentary, and I feel like he does a good job of adding credibility to a lot of things.
Tony?
I think Taz.
Oh, Taz.
Tony to a point, but I'm a big Taz guy. Yeah. Tony saved him here, but I think Taz does a great job of helping me give a shit about what's going on.
Yeah, Excalibur I can take or leave. He's fine. I don't have much of an opinion on him. But
I appreciate his excitement, though.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. But I will say that one of the better decisions this company has made is Tony Schiavone and Taz. Now, Tony needs to keep off Twitter because he says a lot of dumb shit that he deletes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I was a WWE guy. You were a WCW guy. But I always appreciate hearing Tony Schiavone because that's our childhood. Taz has been
nostalgic to hear him.
And Taz has been great since he started on SmackDown.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree that Taz, especially Taz, but both of them help me enjoy the product a lot more.
Speaking of Taz on SmackDown, while I was watching this show and he's commentating, someone in our wrestling group chat sent that old video about Daniel Puder coming out in the Rumble 20 some odd years ago, and Taz was commentating that, and I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, I'm in Taz surround sound right now.
That's
I thought
right.
that was kind of neat earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so after this, we get a recap package of the story between Tony Storm
Mm-hmm.
and Mariah May, basically just saying, Tony has been playing a character where kind of like amnesia, like she didn't remember anything that's just happened,
Yeah.
and she like idolized Mariah May. And then last week she was like, "I was playing myself. How could you think I forgot all this?"
Yeah.
And pretty neat segment. So we go back to live. Renee's on the ramp, and she interviews Mariah May, who starts off hot. She says, "It's nice to be in Huntsville, but maybe they should change the first letter to a C." I thought that was kind of funny.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and then Renee says that Mariah seems visibly shaken up by the metamorphosis of Tony. And Mariah May kind of freaks out. She says Tony's not real, and she wrestles the mic away from Renee and shoos her away. And then she cuts kind of a scathing promo saying that if Tony wants to play a role as Tony Storm, she should play the role as someone who gave her heart to a woman who used her for gold. And then she says, no, no. Tony Storm, whose most memorable moment is bleeding and crying in my own arms. And then she says, why don't you play the Tony Storm who walked out of Wembley, out of Japan, and out of Mexico because you couldn't touch me? And she said, no matter what role Tony wants to play, the ending stays the same. And when you're this good, you don't need to change a damn thing.
Yep.
She says, the woman from hell, and she always will be, and she will always remind Tony Storm for the rest of her life.
Yep.
So nice scathing promo from her,
Mm-hmm.
and then we get a series of packages here. They hit the Guns, Austin and Colton. I don't know if they've been off TV for a bit because again I have been watching,
Mm-hmm.
but they hit a Guns promo really quick.
Mm-hmm.
A Hurt Syndicate package of them winning the tag titles last week. We go to commercial, and then we come back with a Takeshita package about him being the Continental champion.
Who is it?
I think it's what it's Takeshita. They hit the package about him winning that belt and like kind of his dominance around the world. I think it's called the Continental Championship now. It's the one that Pac was the first one to win, but they changed the name of it. It was like the All Atlantic Championship,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
changed
Yeah.
the name of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then they did like a recap of the night and some upcoming matches, and then we get one more package out back. It's Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie. They blame Harley Cameron for Deonna not beating Mercedes.
Yep.
Deonna says that the world isn't built for women like her and Taya, and that they need to take what they think they deserve, and that Harley belongs to them. And on Saturday they're going to collect what she owes them. And with that, we get our main event. And I'm going to be honest, my only two notes are, what the fuck is this entrance music? And who the fuck is this? Mercedes is small in stature, man. And it was so hard for me to take this seriously. And I was just like, you're going to end your show with this? I have nothing nice to say about this at all.
I think she's actually an AEW original.
Really?
Yeah, I think she was in the tournament for the first ever women's title because I remember her. So I need to move the mic in a little bit because we got a couple things to talk about. So first off, Mariah May and Tony Storm is a great segment. That interview was great. They're great.
Great feud.
Great
best
feud.
thing. I think it's the best thing on AEW TV right now.
100%.
I'm here for this and Ospreay, and that's pretty much it right now.
As somebody who's never booked a damn thing in his life, I'm gonna point out what another one of their problems is. Nobody, and I mean nobody, watches Collision. And I understand that you're trying to get eyes on it. But why the hell is Tony Storm doing all this shit on Collision? And we have to listen to, no offense, Dina Purrazzo and Tyra Valkyria. I don't give a damn about those two.
Yeah.
The
What sucked is that segment went against Saturday night's main event, and
right, and
a
nobody gave a
lot more
shit.
people were watching that.
Right.
I wish that Tony segment happened on Collision.
It should Dynamite happened on
Yeah.
Collision.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry.
They put too much stuff on Collision. That doesn't. When was the last time Okada was on Dynamite non Collision? Why the hell is Okada on Collision? Like, no offense, but I don't need Wheeler Yuta versus Switchblade on Dynamite when Okada's not on the show. The Acclaim broke up on Collision. Tony Storm's on Collision. Mariah May is their women's champion. And you would not know that if you watched the show. You would have thought Mercedes was the women's champion. I have no use for Mercedes. Frankly, I'd never have. Between the throwing herself on the ground at WrestleMania when they lost the belt.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan myself.
The
So
multiple times quitting when she doesn't get her way. I am very anti walking out on a company and trying to act like victim. I like when Stone Cold did it. I don't like what Tony does, where he has people sit home just to screw them. But you signed a contract, regardless of what's going on. If you walk out, don't sit there and try to act like you were the one in the right. I've never, I don't know. I'm not a Mercedes Moné person. There's a lot of wrestlers I like. A lot of the girl wrestlers I like. Women wrestlers. She's not one of them. She does nothing for me. Like, I know you're not the biggest Bianca fan. Bianca is a million times better than Mercedes.
I'm going to agree.
Yeah. So this whole we're going to put some of the biggest stuff happen on Collision is nuts. Put Mercedes on Collision. If you feel like you need to draw more eyes there, give me more May and put Mercedes on Collision. The video package for the Guns was cool. Why the hell are the Hurt Syndicate not on the show? Didn't they just win the tag titles last week?
I think last week, yeah.
I hated that WWE did this with Lyra. She wins the belt, and then next week they have a video package. So I'm gonna hate it when AEW does it. If you're gonna put a title on somebody, then you put them on the show, let everybody see them, and show them how much this matters. I didn't have one damn note for this match because what the hell was that for a main event?
It was horrible.
That was it. Again, and I'm not a Mercedes fan, so maybe that's part of it. But I would have taken Jeff Jarrett in the main event over this match. And that's saying something because that Jeff Jarrett match was shit, and that wasn't Claudio's fault. So
I would watch that Ensign Gary 20 times over.
Right. You know what?
Or that Russian leg sweep that I saw coming from Serbia.
If they're going to put matches on like this, you know who we should get? Tony loves his nostalgia. Give me back some Norman Smiley, all right? In a hardcore match. Remember his screaming gimmick when he was like hardcore champ and was just terrified of everything? That was hilarious. Yeah. That was great. That's entertaining. Give me that over whatever the hell this main event was. Literally, the main event was the worst match. If you play WWE 2K and you do my GM mode, they hammer you that the first and the last match have to be your best matches. Well, Tony apparently needs to play WWE 2K because his main event was the worst match on this show. Damn.
Yeah. I would say that was the worst match we've reviewed since we've started doing this.
I ate a whole jug of ice cream trying to keep my ass awake because I was falling asleep.
And this boy doesn't need more ice cream, Tony. God damn it.
Hell no. It was mint and it was delicious. But
I do love that for you.
But yeah, I trust me, I don't need no more ice cream. So the show overall wasn't terrible. I know I sound like a negative dick. But there's just a lot of things that I'm like, I know Tony's not a real booker. He's a rich guy who has a lot of money, but he has people there that knows what they're doing.
I
So
can't believe they let Mark Henry out of that company.
Mark Henry, William Regal,
Oh,
you
oh
know,
yeah, they're both gone. The fact that they had both of them, oh brother,
but there's still a lot of people in that company that knows what they're doing. So
yeah.
do their job. Like these are fixable things. So I don't get it. But it was an all right show. It had its ups, it had its downs. Um, Again, no shot in hell you're gonna get a collision review on this show. You could go
My blood
somewhere
pressure
else.
can't handle it.
Nah, you'll get a TNA reaction before you get a collision reaction. Matter of fact, that's what I'm gonna do when we finish taping this. Is I'm gonna go watch TNA. So
Yep.
that's it, man. It was an experience. It wasn't a negative experience, but it was, except for that main event, but it was an experience. We're going to take this AEW ride together, and we're going to get through it. Maybe somebody will catch this very small podcast right now, and they'll be like, hey, this dude with the glasses and the fat guy have... They might know what they're talking about a little bit. They're a little weird looking. The fat dude needs to get his front teeth fixed, but maybe they got a couple brain cells in there, and maybe they'll start listening to us. If not, we'll keep screaming into the void. Not like JD does, that's for sure. I've never talk about a turn. I have never seen somebody go from such a dick rider to having the pitchforks just lit up, ready to go. Damn.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of his videos talking about AEW nowadays? Holy shit.
I had to block him.
Oh man, I blocked him on Twitter, but other people still post shit, and whoo.
I tried to save myself the sanity.
Yeah,
So
no kidding. All right.
I didn't know that he. Yeah.
Oh, he's turned hard.
I didn't know that.
Hard. Like
Maybe I will unblock.
like hard, like to the point where it's like, brother. Like all right.
You're talking JD from New York?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. I used to fight with him all the time.
He's turned hard in the wrong direction. Well, I mean, probably not wrong because I agree with him more now than I ever have, but he's still a dick, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. It was an alright show. Heads ups, heads downs. We will be seeing everybody tomorrow night, late, for our SmackDown review. Last show before the Rumble, baby!
I can't wait. 2 more sleeps, brother.
Yeah. Got a title match. We got Chelsea Green.
Tomorrow night?
Yeah, Chelsea Green and Michin. Yeah. And,
Nice.
It's a last chance for people to be changing brands. So, yeah. So we got, tomorrow we got SmackDown. Saturday's going to be the Rumble. And then Sunday morning when everybody wakes up and just getting their breakfast and their coffee, you guys can watch us do our Royal Rumble review.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, man. Till then, we will see y'all tomorrow night. Peace.
Peace.